This is Memorable Lives, a new channel that will remember the lives and the contributions of people in the public eye from different parts of the world who have passed on in recent days. The personalities featured are in first-name alphabetical order. Aaron Brown, the U.S. television journalist who died aged 76 on the 29th of December, was best known for his coverage of the 2001 attacks on the World Trade Center, which saw him report live from the top of the CNN building in Manhattan. That, remarkably, was his first day on the job for CNN, having joined from a rival network. His total contribution to broadcasting, though, spanned more than 40 years. Among those paying tribute, former CNN producer John Auerbach described Brown as first and foremost a writer and craftsman, which is quite possibly the best compliment one could pay to a fellow newsman. Another former colleague, CNN's John Vowes, added, "He could bring everybody in if you were a regular of his show. He had a very dry sense of humor, but you were part of the family almost." Olympic gymnast and Holocaust survivor Agnes Keleti has died aged 103. Keleti, born in Hungary, had been the oldest surviving Olympic champion until her passing on the 2nd of January. During the Second World War, as Hungary allied itself with the Axis powers, she found refuge by working in the countryside under a false identity. Some of her relatives, including her father, were not able to escape the slaughter, however. She won her first medals at the 1952 Games in Helsinki at the age of 31. She claimed further medals 4 years later in Melbourne, ending up with a remarkable total of 5 Olympic golds, the silvers and 2 bronze medals, across a range of events. Keleti emigrated to Israel in 1957, where she lived with her husband and 2 children. In 2015, she returned to live in her native city of Budapest. The Canadian actor Angus MacInnes carried with him the distinction of appearing in the first Star Wars film, in which he played X-Wing pilot John Dutch Vander. In a Facebook post, his family said, "For Angus, the fans of Star Wars held a special place in his heart. He loved meeting you at conventions, hearing your stories, and sharing in your passion for the saga." As well as being part of one of the world's most watched and most loved films, MacInnes had a long list of acting credits to his name in TV and cinema. Mr. MacInnes passed away on the 23rd of December, but features here since his passing was publicly confirmed last Sunday. Dada Masilo was an award-winning South African dancer and choreographer, known for her daring reinventions of ballet standards like Swan Lake, fusing them with African dance styles. Described by her mentor and collaborator PJ Sabaga as a loving, caring, and incredible human being, she cut a strikingly powerful figure which was matched by her determination to succeed as a professional dancer. She told the Times newspaper in 2016, "I fought very hard to be able to dance. My family did not like it one bit." Masilo died on the 29th of December at the age of just 39, following a short illness. To Latin America, where on Monday of this week, the Peruvian footballer Hugo Sotil died at the age of 75. He scored in the 1975 Copa America final, ending it as part of a team that won the trophy for the second and, so far, last time in the country's history. Such was his standing in Peru that in 1972 a film was made of his life, entitled Cholo, after his nickname. In his club career, Sotil, a diminutive but quick and skillful striker, had the distinction of playing for Spanish giant Barcelona, where he was part of a team that won the club's first league title in 15 years. Jimmy Carter, U.S. President between 1977 and 1981, died at the age of 100 on the 29th of December. It would be remiss to go into the rights and wrongs of his views and policies, but the tributes paid to him from different ends of the political spectrum give the sense of a man whose character was held in high regard. Joe Biden called him a man of principle, faith, and humility, while President-elect Donald Trump said that Carter had done all he could to improve the lives of all Americans, and that, in turn, they owed him a debt of gratitude. And certainly, reading some of the articles that followed news of his passing, it's hard to escape the feeling that we'll never quite see his like again. He was the leader of the free world who made a vital television address dressed in a cardigan, and perhaps no other U.S. president has pursued his personal life with quite the same moral vigor, even confessing to an interviewer that he'd been guilty of adultery in his heart. Carter was the first sitting president to lose a bid for re-election in more than 50 years. In the backdrop, there were the problems of rising prices and interest rates, and Carter, with remarkable candor, told his people that they could see paralysis and stagnation and drift around them, and that he shared their concern. In his post-presidential life, Carter took on diplomacy and human rights as his chief political missions, winning the 2002 Nobel Peace Prize. The British radio DJ Johnnie Walker, a popular voice over the airwaves over several decades, died on New Year's Eve. He was 79. Walker began broadcasting back in 1966 for the offshore station, or so-called pirate radio station, Swinging Radio England, not long afterwards moving on to the more famous ship-based broadcaster Radio Caroline. The battle between Walker, his fellow presenters, and the UK government of the time, who forced the pirate broadcasters off air for good in 1968, provided the inspiration for the 2009 film The Boat That Rocked. Before the 60s were out, however, Walker was on air with the BBC, Britain's establishment broadcaster, which is where he would spend the bulk of his career. There can't have been many famous musicians who Walker hadn't met or interviewed, and leading the online tributes were star of musicals Michael Ball, singer-songwriter Joan Armatrading, and Led Zeppelin's Robert Plant, who highlighted Walker's passion for music. Central to his appeal, though, was his own pitch-perfect radio tone, which could be heard all the way up to October 2024 on his regular BBC Radio 2 show, which he aired despite being in the full-time care of his wife Tiggy since the beginning of the year as he suffered a progressive lung disease. Paying tribute, Tiggy said, "He remained his charming, humorous self to the end. What a strong, amazing man. It has been a roller coaster ride from start to finish." Actress Linda Lavin enjoyed a career on stage and screen that stretched all the way back to 1958. Over that time, there were awards, lots of them, including 2 Golden Globe Awards for playing the titular character in the sitcom Alice, which followed the misadventures of a widowed mum working as a waitress at a roadside diner, and attracted audiences of up to 25 million during its late 70s peak. Lavin had already made a name for herself on Broadway before her television career took off, and she returned to the stage in triumph by winning the Tony Award for Best Actress in a play in 1987 for her work in Broadway Bound. She remained active in the entertainment industry right up until the present day, with recent roles in the Netflix comedy No Good Deed and an upcoming series called Mid-Century Modern. Liz Feldman, who'd worked with Lavin on No Good Deed and the TV comedy 9JKL, said, "That we got to collaborate again on No Good Deed was simply a gift. You were, as always, incredibly gracious, totally hilarious and pitch perfect." Lavin, who died on the 29th of December, was 87 years old. The Swiss-born socialite Jocelyn Wildenstein arguably beguiled and appalled the world in equal measure. Her love of luxury made her a regular guest of newspaper gossip columns. Her yearly bill for wine, food, phone calls, and flowers apparently ran close to $1 million. She rose to widespread fame in the late 90s as she won a reported $2.5 billion in a divorce settlement from Alec Wildenstein, the heir to a family fortune made in art and racing. Her addiction to cosmetic surgery also caught the public's attention. She wanted, apparently, to achieve a more feline appearance. Her former husband, though, quoted in Vanity Fair, said, "She was thinking that she could fix her face like a piece of furniture. Skin does not work that way, but she wouldn't listen." Jocelyn would probably agree that she wasn't the most attentive of listeners, telling an interviewer, "Journalists can say whatever they like. It's really not my problem." She died on December 31st, aged 84.